Welcome to the Nomad Network, your first stop for complete and comprehensive Chicago Bears football coverage. Dive deep into analyses, updates, and all things Bears. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today and never miss a beat. Thank you in advance for your support. We promise to bring you the best because together we're unstoppable. Go Bears!
Boy. If tonight was ever a night to put the kids away, and it's gonna be an adult conversation. We're gonna try to keep our words to some kind of semblance of decent for the sake of YouTube. And tonight, man, is not a welcome in, you guys. Everybody that's in the comment section, not in the comment section, everybody just watching from afar, wherever you are in the world. Tonight's it's a very sentimental night for me because of, obviously you saw the thumbnail and you know why we're here and what conversation we're going to have tonight. And it's going to be pretty much specific to that conversation of the Bears, in commitment, not nothing is concrete right now, but in front facing to the public, they have committed to moving to Hammond, Indiana. And I'm not happy about it. I got a whole bunch of reasons why, and I'm not going to hold back tonight. I'm going to speak my mind. I wanted to just produce the show because I'm so pissed off about the whole thing, but they invited me to be a part of the conversation, and I'm going to do my best to be a little bit civilized tonight, but I'm extremely pissed off about this whole thing. Not going to hide it. And without further ado, let me go and give a bounce pass to Kez tonight, man, and we'll see what Canada's thinking.
What it do, y'all? It's Sunday night. Welcome to Nomad at Night. Yeah, things been normal, except we may be cheering for the Hammond Bears moving forward, or the Gary Bears, or I don't know what y'all want to call it, but it should be at least an interesting topic of conversation that we sort of been trying to somewhat sidestep and avoid because, man, like you'd think that they would have got something done. But anyways, I'm gonna throw it down to my brother underneath me, and we'll start this general conversation. Glad to have you with us.
Well, not yet. Do some pleasantries out first, and do a little bit of that.
Sure.
Yeah, pleasantries, human. It's all kind of the same thing, but I got to start out by giving a peaceful journey, a rest in peace to Stacey King. The announcer for the Bulls, as well as former player, the man you see there on the string. I always saw him as Jabba the Hutt, and his announcing partner, Adam Amin, was like the little Jabba, the little rat thing, because Stacey was like huge and he was little, but the phrases, the catchphrases, the nicknames, the energy, the authenticity, the realness that he brought to over 20 years of some sucky ass basketball teams, beside watching him, contribute as a role player for 3 championships during, the Jordan days. So, knowing that he had some illness a year or so back, but he was recouping from that. He's back on the road, and then just out of the blue, it's like Stacey King is like, oh, for fuck's sake, why can the people that we don't like or that have negative contributions to the world or that are just bad people, why are they still thriving? whereas just genuine souls like this one who always had time for the quote unquote little people, who would always take the time to, get into, the Twitter arguments, to be gone, just so early, give me the hot sauce. Indeed, Cornell. You know what I mean? It's very sad and one of those gone too soon situations, but he went when his time was up. So, peaceful journey there, Stacey King.
Quato, I don't know what is being said on BCP. Doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care what he's saying. But anyway, man, you talking about you want to hear a fun fact? About a year or so ago, when I was still on Twitter, communicating with Stacey King, kept it to myself. We had several conversations. Found out he's a big fan of Io as I am. I watched his whole high school career. So did Stacey. Watched him at Illinois, and then lo and behold, he becomes a Chicago Bull. And so we got kinship through that. So me and him was in DMs just talking back and forth about that. But little did I know, Stacey King was a football fan. Not only that, he was a Bears fan. Not only that, he was a fan of the show. He knew all the characters. He one little I wish I think I deactivated that account. I don't know if it's even still there. But in one conversation, little exchange, he was getting on trips about one of the crazy dishes he was making. He said, "You tell that guy he's gonna mess up somebody's stomach." Some shit he said. I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he knows all the characters. He knows kids, knows who Triple R is, Chef Trips, and all that stuff, man. So he liked to watch our stuff when he's on the road in a hotel, and it was gonna come on the show. But at the time, I think it was around this time, about a year or so ago, he was going on vacation with his son, I think, or sons or something. He was going on vacation with family. And he said that when he came back, that he was going to make some arrangements to, try to put it together because he did want to come in there and talk a little ball. And so, yeah, man, interestingly enough, I didn't even say nothing to nobody because I wanted it to be a surprise. And wow, man, this one really blew me today, man. It really, really blew me. You talking about bringing color to the color commentary in Chicago basketball. He definitely did that, man. It was fun. Even if like Tripp said, even you watching sucky basketball, it's fun to watch the broadcast because of him. I mean, he was just uniquely qualified to bring that kind of flavor to the broadcast, man. It was fun watching him. My girlfriend got a kick out of it every time she would come back here, and she just giggle every time he give one of those little catchphrases. So, man, it kind of stung, man. It kind of stung because I did want to. He would have come on the show. We'd have probably mixed it between Bulls and Bears that day. But man, wow, man, this one really blew me today, man. I found out about it around 2:00 today. But man, rest in power, big bro. That's all I can say.
I'm finding out right now, real talk. I didn't realize. Big ups to and condolences to him and his family. Always a tough loss, these types of situations. So again, Chicago lost a good one here in Stacey King.
Man, this one was definitely funny little story. I don't know if you guys remember a cat named Randy Brown.
West Side Baller.
There was in Olympia Fields, Illinois, there's a little club, a little grown-up kind of club. One of my homeboys was begging me to go to, and I never really wanted to go to it because this is a little too grown for me, man. Like older people, man. I'm like, nah. He's like, come on, man. I'm telling you, it's chill. It's a nice little mixture. And lo and behold, I went in there the first time and I enjoyed it. It was a nice, chill atmosphere. So I went back and go to the bar. Guess who's sitting at the bar? Freaking Randy Brown. And we just kicking it. And for about 4 to 6 weeks straight, there was Randy Brown. This is off season. You know what I'm saying? He's a coach, but he comes back to Chicago to hang out and do his thing. So, you know, the place that the I can't think of the name of the place, but the place was it had a like a little club inside the hotel. So he had a room upstairs and was doing his little thing up there and just come down to the bar. And we would just meet there at the same time every single weekend for about 6 weeks straight, man. We kicked it. He told me all kinds of stories. Knew Stacy, was gonna bring Stacy out there, but he could never get Stacy to come out to the club so much, man. But man, wow. 6 degrees of separation, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But rest in peace, Stacy, man. I'm gonna miss that guy tremendously, man. Just what he brought to the broadcast and as what he brought to the Bulls with 6 championships, the role he played in, I don't know how many of them, but he played a significant role in some of them. So
yeah, 3. He was there for 3.
he,
And when he played, he knew his role and he, did it well. He had, 6 fouls to give when he got in the game, and he had energy to bring when necessary. Other than that, he was at the end of the bench, supporting his teammates.
I think he was a significant piece at one point in time, a real significant piece, man. Power forwards ain't really power forwards no more in NBA. Like, he was a true power forward. Get down in the post and just go to work on you. So, yeah. I mean, they ain't the same no more. They ain't made like Stacy no more.
Right? Because there's certain roles that you have on the game, and you couldn't say that he was a offensive powerhouse. You couldn't say that, well, man, his defensive was like top shelf. No, you couldn't say it's like rebounder. He just did everything good. And he stepped up when needed to step up, made plays when he needed to make plays, and was vocal in the team huddle or locker room when necessary. But he also said that he knew when to shut the F up, because Mike was talking, or because the coach was talking or something. So he knew his position. When, the fans have been getting on the Bulls organization for a while now, because of the teams that they've been putting out, Stacy would catch a lot of arrows on Twitter, for being a company man, for carrying the Reinsdorf's water. And he would say repeatedly, look, my job is not to disparage the team. I get paid by the team to talk about the team. He would say if stuff was bad, but he wouldn't get on the bandwagon of, this player needs to be cut or coach needs to be fired. He wouldn't go to those extremes, but he would engage. He would defend his position. He would, talk his shit, but he was always so much fun with it. And it's just a very, very sad state of affairs.
You want to know another fun fact, man? Adjacent to this conversation. Funny, I'm in somewhere near Olympia Fields. We're in Matson. And the first time in my life, I was a part of a wedding party. I was the best man. First time I was the best man at somebody's wedding. Lo and behold, we go in there, several of us getting fitted for tuxes and shit. And lo and behold, who comes in there to get fitted for a wedding party as well? Freaking BJ Armstrong, one of the ex-point guards for the Bulls. He's in there and we in there. Fuck, I don't know if it was normal, but because that was my first time going in there into a tux fitting for something like that. But we was in there, everybody. I don't know if BJ was, but everybody that he was rolling with, about 8 to 12 of them, was drinking. We was all drinking in my camp. All of them was drinking, man. We was in there just sitting around, just chilling, getting measured up, fitted for stuff. And man, it was a good time. He was telling some stories in there too, man. But he also knew Stacy really well. He came up in conversation. This is before I even met Randy Brown or even had a conversation with Stacy. But I've met a few Bulls, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah, man. Sad. But yeah, we can keep it moving because I'm sure that the Bulls organization is going to have some kind of, tribute, banner, statue, some kind of thing, because he was such an integral part of the organization for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. He was, we're going to miss him, man. Straight up, he is one of the best commentators. AC says the best commentator on TV. He brought a little something, man, that was unique to him. He made that shit his own. He owned that shit.
Man.
So yeah, man. But let's get how's your week been going, kids, man? What's been going on with you, man? Let's get a little personal before we cut all the way.
Yeah, no real personal stuff for me, man. I was out of town all week. Did my little conference fun, kiss babies, shake hands, and I'm back home, man. That's the bulk of my week. Nothing too spectacular. Nothing to really complain about or crack jokes about. But a little bit of a slow one, just kind of watching to see if the Bears make any kind of moves or if they could finally figure out what the hell they're doing with respect to a stadium. And it looks like everything's gone straight to hell. But here we are.
What about you, Trip?
Yeah, just coding, editing, designing, being the creative son of a bitch that I am.
Nothing wrong with that, man. I had a pretty eventful week. First, I finally got that bush. Finally got that bush down, and yeah, it took some arm and hammer, bro. That's all I can tell you. A lot of arm and hammer. Got it down. I knew once I got it down, I would roll because a lot of the other stumps in the yard are, I can get 360 degrees around them. I can dig them and really get to them, as opposed to something that's dug under the concrete and rooted under the concrete. I got down another about 5 or 6 more good ones too, man. And I'm rolling with that. You're ready to really kind of once I get on that thing this week, I'm gonna really knock a large chunk of the job out. I feel like I'll be done in a couple weeks with the whole thing.
Man.
So yeah, I'm gonna get that out the way. And also, man, connected with a friend of mine I haven't talked to in a while. You're right, Crimson. It took every bit of 3 weeks, bro. I was into the 3rd week messing with that thing, and yeah, I'm just glad it's over with. But yeah, also I talked to a friend this week, and I could tell you this, man. I don't know who is listening to this right now. I can see the people in the chat, but anybody else that might listen to this, whether it's now or later on, if you can keep, and you can't control everybody, but y'all be careful out there buying, any kind of products off the street, as far as, any kind of herbal products, marijuana or anything like that, or anything off the street, whether it be whatever it is, because everything right about now has a chance to have fentanyl on it. Everything. Somebody I know who lost a son to fentanyl. Good kid, man. I know him. It's heartbreaking just to talk to him. You know what I mean? It's heartbreaking because his whole legacy was his son. And messing around, getting some weed off the street out there in LA. Not to say this, it only happens in LA, it happens everywhere. That shit is on everything, everywhere.
Why?
Whether you're in the United States, because people are trying to, let's just say, for instance, Trips, you are somebody that's accustomed to using some kind of fentanyl. It's not gonna hit you and put you down on your behind and put you out. You got some kind of tolerance built up to it. So a lot of the addicts out here are looking for stronger products, and the suppliers are looking for ways to make it stronger.
All right, because if I just want, hey, I just want some green, and I don't want nothing laced on it. What's with the lacing? And it just seems like if I'm paying for just green, why are they wasting the investment of it, by lacing it? It's just like, all right, sell the green, because now instead of putting the stuff on it, you put it on other things that's paying for other things. I mean, it just doesn't make sense unless, you're saying, hey, this is weed, but it's also laced with.
It makes
that's what you're paying for.
It makes business sense because it's going to pack more of a punch and you're going to get more customers.
Well, yeah, but it's not.
Until it's not good business, until somebody's in a casket. You know what I'm saying? But just know ahead of time, this stuff, it's not like.
I just like to take a time out here.
Before you time me out, the thing about it, Trips, is like say somebody gets a nice little package of green, and they chopping it up to distribute it. It's not like they know what's being cut on it. That's the danger. They don't know what somebody's done to it before they got it. But go ahead, kids. My bad.
I would just like to say, time out. If you're out there and you're putting fentanyl on marijuana, fuck you. I just like to put that out there straight up and have that said across the board. There's no reason for that. If your weed sucks, fuck you. It's fine. You don't need to put that shit on there at all. Not to mention, I don't necessarily like it's crazy, but I don't necessarily super trust all the stuff that's coming out of government either. Let's being real about this now.
Me neither.
But unfortunately, like if that's what's going on the streets, y'all are ruining, the regular good old contraband in America. There's no reason for this. There's no even
you're poisoning the poison.
You're poisoning the poison. Like even Nomad, you're saying like I can understand the business savvy here. It is the most ridiculous business savvy thing to ever do, ever. You know, people ain't trying to get like. If you're gonna go, you're gonna go grab some weed. You're grabbing some weed. You're not trying to lose your shit or die off marijuana. Nobody's trying to do that. It is a natural plant. Either curate the plant the way the plant should be curated so people can get the buzz they expect, or don't do that. Sell them straight up fentanyl. One or the other. Don't mix that. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for that. If you think you're gonna make $20 more selling weed, you're really not gonna. Just sell the fucking fentanyl. Sell crack, sell whatever it is, and get your paper. But don't
say that, man. Don't say
I'm being serious. Like I'm saying,
don't say that. That's just not good for YouTube, bro.
No, I'm being whatever with YouTube right now. I'm being dead serious. If that's what you're trying to do, if you're a dealer out there on the streets, you're trying to make money, get your money, man. Don't ruin the plant that the people are coming to you to try and get. It's a natural substance. Don't ruin that and destroy that for the rest of for the good people out there, man. Think about the good people. It ain't about your damn pocket.
Well,
you ain't corporate America.
Let me be totally honest with you. Now, where this happened at is in the Compton, California area. And so that's right there with LA. It's adjacent to LA. It's hop, skipping, and jumping you right there in LA. Now, from what I understand, people ain't even right now in that vicinity, people ain't even buying the product unless they see somebody blow it first. You know what I mean? So when it's to that level, then it's time to stop buying off the streets. Really it is, man. If there's a slight chance, it's already known that the THC levels, just because of the way they're curating this product now, is way too high. Like way, way, way too high. It's too high. And that's enough to me to keep me from even wanting it.
This is where
now that you're putting now people are putting stuff on it, whether they're doing it intentionally or got it indirectly, it's still affecting people, putting people in caskets, bro. There's some people out here with toleration. They have a tolerance level for fentanyl. And then there's people who ain't never even had no contact with it, that it will put them straight in the casket.
If that's what it comes down to, fine. Go get your legal stuff at the legal shop. At the legal shop, you can get stuff that'll knock you on your ass. You know what I mean? Like you can get like oils and distillates and stuff like that.
But now, remember, kids, that the legal stuff, it is produced in laboratories now. It's not, your natural growers. You're not getting the strains, like from the cannabis cup or, those kind of things. You're getting the stuff that they're creating to have, certain levels of the Delta 9 and the THC.
That's why I'm mad. That's why I'm mad, Trip, because like at the very least, you could theoretically go on the street and get something that's more or less grown naturally and can get you and you get a buzz from actually at a cost-effective rate. Like that's what the sub market is all. That's what the black market is all about. If y'all are destroying the black market for yourselves, that's what I'm trying to say. That's why I'm upset. Right, you know what I mean? That's why I'm upset.
I know what you mean, man. Listen, bro, I'm gonna just tell you, it's dangerous. That's all I can tell you is it's dangerous. And if you're one of those people that trust your neighborhood homeboy to go get whatever you're getting from him, and guess what? It ain't the same no more. You might trust him and he might trust you. He might not intentionally be giving you anything that's gonna do something to you. But lo and behold, you're the first one out of that package that he just got, and you get the first bag of whatever, and it gets you. That's how easily it can happen.
And this is what I'm saying. That this is the wrongest of the wrongs. Terrible. I'm you know, that whoever's doing that, you're despicable. And what up, Paul? I gotta give Paul a shout out because it's funny as hell. Paul says, "Yo, good evening, everyone. Sup, Nomad. Sup, Trips. Sup, product pusher cat."
Yeah, yo, wow.
Yes, keep a quality natural product.
Hey, man, I'm just saying, that's wrong, man. That you're doing something wrong.
Anyway, it's put my man in a bad place. And I never heard my man like that. Never heard him like that. He actually he does podcasts and stuff because he's in a lowrider club out there, and they got a whole thing going on out there. And you know, if I said his name, you would know exactly who I'm talking about if you're a fan of lowriders because he's very popular. But man, dude, just imagine that. Just imagine that. You got a good kid, you raised him right, you did everything you're supposed to do with him. He's going about his life the right way, gets a bag, tainted bag, and that's it.
Brutal.
Imagine what that would do. He ain't deserve that. He ain't deserve that at all. Yeah, we can see you, Ron.
I got you, Ron.
We can see you.
Yeah, and now you know now. But there are, you know, already imprisoned drug dealers that, you know, sold not for selling drugs, but for selling laced drugs. You know, whether, you know, these dealers knew or not that the weed that they got and were selling had the stuff in it, it doesn't matter. Because if those, you know, people died or, you know, whatever illnesses they got, the ones that sold them the weed are now on the hook for it. So, you know, even though they may not have been the ones that physically put the fent in there, you know, they sold it. So, you know, unless they can, you know, flip upstairs to who, you know, somebody who they got it from, you know, they gonna carry that whole weight. Like, and they wasn't even trying to do that, and they didn't even know the stuff was on there. Oh, that's messed up.
Hey, Trips, the sad thing about that is I've seen this shit happen to cops. Cops would be on a stop, pull somebody over, locate some shit in the car, dog, find it, and you got to pull it out and inspect what it is. Open the shit up, and it put the cop on his ass just by being in proximity to it and having close contact to it. Put him on his ass and make him fight for his life.
Yeah, well, that's why there are rules for searching now. You know, you never, when you see a white powder in somebody's car, it's like, oh, you know, this must be, you know, coke or, you know, something like that, heroin. And then they open it up and it's arsenic, you know, or something, you know, a deadly poison. So there are, you know, there are protocols for handling suspected, you know, drugs. And you have to say suspected because you don't know until you test them. But exactly. You have to treat it all as if it's something dangerous. So, you know, back in the day when on the TV shows, when the cops will make a drug bust and they open up the bag and they dip their finger in it and go, oh yeah, that shit's pure. You know, yeah, that's a no-no in real life.
No, you don't. It's really at a point now where I thought it was going to be at, where you can't. The market, the governed market of that kind of product is becoming so much bigger, they can't afford to have people underneath them, you know, trafficking this little stuff, man. And I think it's some intention here.
Well said, Doc. Well said. Because like what is really happening, given what I just described, is they're destroying the black market. The black market is being destroyed. It can't like the potential side effects of legalization, that my homeboy and hero Peter Tosh was singing about, among many others, is that unfortunately the contraband black market disappears, and everybody got to go get a job, right? Like these are the downsides to legal marijuana. There are others, but that's a major downside. But strangely, the black market still exists because what's been happening, especially in Canada, what I could, which I can describe, because Canada is full of growers, actual growers. The stuff that they're not selling and hasn't been licensed and might not have passed the regulations and things along those lines gets put into, it's shipped out the back door to the black market, and it moves on the black market. It's kind of how it works in Canada. And the same thing's been happening here, man. There's unfortunately been a couple of folks who have smoked a joint laced with fentanyl in some capacity and just didn't survive the situation. But what that does ultimately is it makes sure that people move completely away from the black market and put their money into into taxed marijuana.
Right. So what I'm hearing is, the weed dealer that Nomad is talking about,
yes, Howard Hall,
is getting the weed from his source, but somebody along that chain is lacing stuff and destroying the black market, driving more people to the legal government control market. Is that what I'm hearing, kids?
That's exactly what he's saying. And on top of that, it's definitely not just happening with the marijuana. And so, and just to give a little quick pit stop before you go, kids, in the conversation with my man, he wants to go crusade and take it to Congress and try to get marijuana legalized across, and he's not thinking right.
Oh, I see what
he's not thinking right. I'm like, dude, I said, if it's legalized across the country, you just basically you're giving government more power right now. And and that's really, it wasn't the right answer for him, but right now he just wants to do something because he's hurt. And I understand it. And he just wants to get it legalized everywhere. And if it's legalized everywhere, a part of that legalization should be that people should be able to distribute it to and fro from each other, from one person to the next, without a legal consequence. I say, if you want to go crusade for something, go crusade for that.
Okay, that's very interesting. So I don't know what the regulations are in the state of Illinois, etc.
I can tell you a little bit.
Please.
It's about an ounce. You can have about an ounce, something like that.
Can you grow your own?
If you have
up to 3 ounces, I believe.
3 ounces or 3 plants?
3 plants.
It's ambiguous to me, kids. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think it's 3 plants.
I think it's 3 plants.
And, whatever that yield is.
I think it's 3 plants as well, because again, like you would probably get 3 ounces from a single plant. You might be able to yield more than that from a single plant, and that's hard to delineate. So 3 plants, you can get a pretty solid take. I think it's something along those lines here in Canada as well. And that being the case, you can share it with your neighbor. You can give it to whoever you want. They can grow their own, and that's technically the way that it is, and it would be fine. Again, the real downside is kind of along the lines as to what you were sort of describing there, Nomad, and it's just that if there is no black market, everything is going to the government, and you are actually empowering them. Now, that might be a beneficial thing. In my opinion, I'm not, given the Canadian situation, I don't know what they're doing with the money. This is my reality here. There's no visibility into what these folks are doing with that tax
Because
money.
it's a young market, kid. That's the only reason you don't know. It's a very young market.
Well, that's a good excuse. You know what I mean? Like that sounds good, but I mean, it's year 2026. There's analytics on everything. Like you could tell how many times somebody wiped their ass. You know what I'm saying? Like there's especially cold hard cash that's coming in and out. You should be able to totally delineate this amount of
And
money.
all those dispensaries, they keep records up the ass.
They have to, or they lose their license. You know what I'm saying? So these dollars are already being reported. All that money, it exists. It's being tallied. I just don't know where it's being allocated to by the government. Like once those you know what I mean? Once those dispensaries.
I know you're talking about Canada, kids.
I don't know where
here in the state of Illinois, we had I'm old enough to remember when they started the lottery, and how the proceeds from the lottery were going to help benefit the public schools. Here we are. How many decades later? Lottery. Jackpots are up over $1 billion, and the schools still ain't got shit. I'm old enough to remember when the toll roads, they was like, hey, we're building these roads and we're going to charge a toll, until the road's paid off. The road's been paid off for years, but they have new methods of saying, oh, you drive right through and we take your tolls. You don't have to go to no toll booth operator. You ain't got to throw no money in no basket or nothing. We'll make it electronic. We'll make it easy for you. The toll road been paid off for decades, but we still paying. So it's one of those governmental things, whether it be in the U.S., in Chicago, or in Canada, it seems.
Hold on, kids. I heard somewhere, and I think, and I'm just talking about the state of Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
It's only been legalized for since somewhere around 2016, 2018, somewhere in that time frame. And I was told some time ago that it really takes about a decade for good, legitimate, footprints and background data and all that kind of stuff that you're talking about. And I'm just talking about what I've heard for new things on the market. And talking to people that deal with this stuff all the time. And he just said good data starts to come out about 10 years afterwards because it starts to become consistent. And when he said that, I understood it because, a market like that so young is up and it's down, it's up and it's down early in its existence. And after a while, after about a good 5 years, so why they tell you need a 5-year business plan is for that reason. And so that's why I understand why somewhere around 2028 is when we're going to see solid data in Illinois for that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm. So you are correct in what you're saying, but that's not taxes, right? You're talking about the actual positive and negatives of being a dispenser, of running a dispensary or being a licensed producer. Tax dollars, that money is 1 billion% calculated
quarterly.
You know what I mean? Quarterly by accountants, by whoever handles taxation within your state at the state level or again at the federal level. That's already in place. It's just, oh snap, there's all this more money coming in. Let's tally that and let's tell the people where it's being allocated. This is really not a hard task. Doesn't take an extreme amount of time. Tallying it over 5 years or what have you would say, like, we've now taken X amount of millions of dollars and we put it into education and here's what we've done. You know what I mean?
Like an audit.
Yeah. Well,
I know it's played a big role in us running a state deficit of 0 now.
There you go. Like that's part of what I was going to say. So I know in Colorado, similar things have been done, and it again brought them down to a zero debt case scenario as a state at some point. I don't know what's going on now. If you were to look at Amsterdam as for instance in the Netherlands, they were running at a zero deficit for a very long time once they initially legalized marijuana, and that's sort of the poster child for this as an idea. It really allowed them to turn into a truly green area with respect to debt, and then they turned around and legalized everything, which just wouldn't work in the United States of America. Don't get me wrong, but you know,
we are some addictive.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta put a little bit of a cap on the whole idea. But end of the day, as long as they're reporting to the people and letting the people know what's happening and what's going on, cool. I'm a little bit more with it. In Canada, I'm just saying, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, I would always thought that it's like, hey, you know, end of the fiscal year, as a toll road or as a lottery company or as a dispensary, whatever, we took in X amount of dollars. You know, what's the balance sheet? We spent this much on this. We spent that much on that. We have a surplus of X amount that went to the schools, that went to wherever the hell it went. You know, but there is none of that accounting from our government officials, you know, which is part of, you know, this morning's conversation, you know, about the Bears, because who are the Bears dealing with? The city of Chicago, the state of Illinois.
This is why we pay Triple R the big bucks. This segue right here is why we pay Triple R the big fucking bucks right here. You keep going.
The teachers union, who all want, you know, their piece. And then here we have the Bears and a late coming, you know, in Kevin Warren to the situation. So, you know, as we are now to the thumbnail, Nomad, go off.
Well, since you drove me there, let me go ahead and take the wheel and set this shit off.
The big bucks, kids.
My mind is in a variety of different places, but let me simplify this way. Number one, the Bears, just within itself, the organization, the team, and what it provides for not only the state of Illinois, the city of Chicago, but what, you know, outside of that, what it's done is provided a kinship. It's made friends. Look at us on the screen. We'll be friends for life because of the Chicago Bears. And that's just that's not in a vacuum. That's not only happened with us, that's happened to so many different people across the Bears' whole atmosphere. It's created all kinds of different kinships with people. And you're talking about the kinship that the Chicago Bears have with the state of Illinois, and particularly the city of Chicago. That's one thing. To talk about, you think about the traditions. You think about all the stuff that the Bears, this is the oldest franchise in the league. And all of a sudden, because a billionaire, let's get this straight. George McCaskey and his team and his family, they are billionaires. And it goes along this political line that I hate to go on, of billionaires not being willing to pay their fair share in taxes. We're talking about property taxes. Guess what? You've taxed the citizens to the hilt. You choked off every bit of everything that citizens have. I'm talking about people that don't make a lot of money. Put myself in that category. That are trying to maintain property taxes and trying to, you know, deal with having that lump sum of money taken out of your income every single year. And you got a billionaire wanting some kind of tax break. I have no sympathy for that. None whatsoever. The state of Illinois, the state of California, these are poster childs in New York for billionaires that need to be paying more. They've got all this fluid income and all this money that they're just hoarding that they don't want to give. You would be ashamed to be a taxpayer and find out what billionaires pay in taxes. Yeah, they got all kinds of colorful ways to hide their incomes and wiggle around tax loopholes and all that kind of stuff. In Illinois, I think this, man, I'm so embarrassed at the McCaskey family right now for what they've done. I believe exactly what I put on that thumbnail. They don't deserve to rock the sea if they go to the state of Indiana. They don't get to claim the sea anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you this, you're taking what it took 100 years to build, kind of. Almost 100 years to build, and you want to move that out of the state because you don't want to pay your fair share in taxes.
Well,
In that case, hold on. In that case, you fucking sell the team because you're just a steward of it.
Well, what do you consider fair share?
Whatever the fair share is, that whatever their allotment is for having property.
Well, here's the thing though. When they bought the 300 acres in Arlington Heights, they paid like $197 million for it. But it was, dilapidated with the old Arlington Park racetrack there. So torn down, they had to pay for that. So basically it's empty land. Mm-hmm. But the board commissioner in Arlington Heights or Cook County, or both, one of those, wanted to tax them based on what the land sold for, as opposed to it having nothing on it. The difference being they wanted to charge the Bears, I think, don't quote me, but it's like estimated $30 million a year in taxes, whereas the Bears were more like, hey, ain't nothing on the land till we even build nothing there. We should be paying like $2 million. And so, to be fair, the $30 million that they were originally asked for, they had to go to court and realize that it was illegal for that commissioner to overcharge the Bears. But that took time, that took money to go to court. And so, yes, they are willing to pay taxes. Nope, the McCaskies, Kevin Warren has never said that we don't want to pay any taxes. We'll pay taxes, but fair share is relevant terms. And then when you say they're billionaires, relevant terms to like us, yes, they're rich. But if you put George McCaskey in the same room with Jerry Jones, George ain't got no money. You put George in a room with some of these other owners who actually have outside businesses and who bought their football teams because they had Play-Doh money to buy football teams with. The Bears' only income is the Bears. George don't have another business.
Well, that's not really the argument.
So when the value of the Bears franchise is $8 million, that doesn't mean they have $8 million.
I know what you're saying, Trips, but that's not really. I know where you're going. That's not necessarily the argument I'm making. I'm talking about in comparison to, not another billionaire. I'm talking about in comparison to the regular Joe Schmo.
Well, you can't compare.
Hold on.
They're not comparable.
Trips. To be a property owner here in the state of Illinois, until you see one of those tax bills, depending on how much.
Wait, let me tell you why they're not comparable, and then I'll let you go. Because I'm saying they're not comparable because as a homeowner, your property, your home, your project isn't going to schedule to bring in millions of dollars of tax revenue. These mega projects like this stadium, it's not just the stadium, and it's not just the Bears that want this, it's the NFL. All of their stadiums have the little entertainment districts around it, the hotels, the restaurants, all of that stuff. And all of that brings in tax revenue. So while yes, these projects get, dispensations or discounts, but these projects also generate revenue that and homeowners don't.
Let me jobs. What I think where you are and where I am, you're not far from where I am, but I'm narrowing it down to a very small place in comparison to, like, per capita, any billionaire across the United States of America. They have set up through state legislatures, through federal legislation, and all kinds of ways to keep them from paying any kind of taxes. You know what I'm talking about? It's the American way, they say.
Right.
It's like, but that's got to change. You're gonna lean on the citizens to the point where the citizens gonna get to a point where, no, dude, I ain't paying no taxes. If we all decide not to pay taxes, what you got now? It's like, if I gotta pay this amount of money versus the amount of money I make, it's okay for me to let go of that amount of my income that I really need for all kinds of different things. But it's okay for this guy to get a tax break because he's a billionaire. That's been the American way. That's where I am.
Right.
It's not really about so much him next to the next billionaire or what they make and what they have liquid capital wise versus it's really about cut the bullshit and pay your fair share of whatever the taxes say you need to pay. Just like everybody else that's a normal citizen of the state. And because you don't want to do that, and because you don't want to be in that category where you got to pay, I don't agree with what you said talking about they needed to pay $30 million in property taxes on something that doesn't have property on it. Yeah, I understand that. They need a break for that. Now, everything else, once they start to generate, property on that land, now it's time to start paying the piper. But I'm not any kinds of sympathetic for a billionaire. I don't give a fuck if it's George McCaskey or his mama or anybody else. I don't care. I'm not sympathetic to that.
Here's the thing:
their fucking share.
George ain't sympathetic to you.
Know that you're a steward of a team.
Yeah,
that's it.
But look at it, where the team is still headquartered in Hallis Hall, and like look at Kevin's Warren aspect in this. The taxes, where it's like, no, we're not paying $30 million. And now, they have to deal with that, so you're saying, okay, that's fair, that they were overtaxed. Okay, fine. Because not once did they say, we're not going to pay zero taxes that I've seen. The Illinois state politicians may have said it, but not the Bears.
Can you go to and try to get a tax break?
Am I going to be generating millions in revenue? Yes.
I asked you a simple question. Can you?
And I gave you an answer.
Can you lobby for a tax break?
There's another side to the question you're asking. Like black and white questions seldom exist alongside black and white answers. The Bears are trying to do this, and in doing so, they will be generating jobs and revenue for the state. Therefore, they went to the state and asked for a little bit of a break. Triple R ain't going to be, making money for the state or creating jobs. So if Trip goes and says, hey, can y'all give me a break? They're going to tell him to go pound sand, just like they would tell his next door neighbor. Now, here's where, for me, complete outsider, I honestly don't necessarily care, but here's where things kind of fall off the rails for me. And it's got a lot to do with what Paul Rodriguez just said here. All right, I'm going to read this out. I do not know for sure what the McCaskey family has invested. If I owned the Bears, I would definitely have invested money in real estate, stocks, etc., making more money for yourself. And this is where I'm a little bit confused with this entire thing. And let me map this out for a minute. All right, give me a minute. So the way that I'm looking at this is that the McCaskeys have no interest in sort of wheeling and dealing potentially with other capitalists. They want to own this thing themselves and potentially get the people to pay for it, right?
They're not flush enough to do that.
But what they are doing, kids, they are getting private financing.
They're getting private financing from who?
Private financing.
They opened it up because on their board it's all of the McCaskeys and the Ryan guy.
Yeah,
and the Ryan guy is the one that just built the Northwestern Stadium in Evanston. He's on their board. So because they're not cash rich like that, they have opened up a private equity thing to buy the authority to pay for the stadium, and then the Bears would pay rent to that authority, basically paying themselves back.
Fair. Now,
so that's how that would work.
This is a piece of it, but on the flip side, like the McCaskeys, Bears board et al., they basically sat around for 5 years where they could have been building and making money off shit. Like I'm just saying this.
Well, you say sit around. Why do you say sit around?
Well, hold on. I'm gonna tell you why he said sit around, and I'm gonna tell you why Kevin Warren was the exact wrong person to get involved in this. Kevin Warren's a lightweight. You really needed to hire a lobbyist. That's a power broker here in the state of Illinois that can go inside a congressman's office, go inside a senator's office in the state of Illinois and know how to move and shake some things. Perfect example would have been somebody like, even though people might like him and might not like him, but you can't take away the fact that he's a power broker. And him and his brother is the Rahm Emanuel and his brother would have been the perfect person to go and do this, because that's what they've done their whole lives, go in and make deals.
What is Kevin Warren's history? His resume?
He's a lightweight.
He's a lightweight.
He did this in Minnesota. He did this in Minnesota.
He built a stadium in Minnesota, got that done. But then, and now, where is the Big Ten in relation to where they were before he got there and left?
And he's done some good business deals with them as well.
So he was he. Now the history of him is like he's an asshole to work with, but he was successful in Minnesota. He was successful with the Big Ten. Now he wasn't hired by the Bears when they bought this land. That was Ted Phillips. So Ted Phillips did all of this before Kevin Warren was even a thing in Chicago. So Kevin Warren, now this is the Cats thing, like 5 years. All right, so they came in, off the rip. It's like, instead of paying $2 million a year, we want $30 million a year in taxes. That's before anything. So now you got to go to court. You got to deal with that shit. And you have to deal with the state of Illinois. You have to deal with the city of Chicago. You have to deal with Cook County. It's not like they can just say, we have the money, we're just going to build and worry about recouping later. That's the part about being a poor rich person in this case. But part of the holdup is not only the state or the county, but the city of Chicago. Soldier Field took bonds out on it a few decades ago when they remodeled it. Now, Corny's going on about Friends of the Park. Yeah, those people are horrible. They are like a citizens group that protects the lakefront and public spaces, from industrial takeovers or corporate takeovers and stuff. They were the reason that George Lucas didn't build in Chicago and had to go someplace else, so yeah, screw them all. But the Friends of the Park were difficult to deal with as well. But Soldier Field has bonds on it to pay for the remodeling renovation. The Bears paid their part of, the lease fees, but the city, the park district, or whoever didn't make the payments. So there's still $500 million outstanding on Soldier Field, which should have been paid decades ago. That's not the Bears' fault. I mean, they paid their part, but now the governor's like, well, they can't leave Soldier Field till this $500 million is paid off. Is that the Bears' fault? No.
So Trip, I'm looking at things just a little bit differently. And again, so if you're a $1 billion machine, I know there's investments here, there, and everywhere. But if you're a $1 billion machine, if you turned around and you've acquired a large piece of real estate that you can do anything with, and you go, hey, look, I'm gonna put a stadium up there. Why not go to another businessman and say, hey, look, let's put some hotels up here now. Let's just work on hotels now while we're waiting to get this tax deal. Like, they could have been put up 6 hotels.
But now you invest and you put up these hotels and the stadium deal falls through. Now what's happening to these hotels?
Now you're making money off of hotels.
Why do you need hotels if there's no stadium there?
Exactly.
Hey, I'm sure people need hotels.
Who the fuck wants to spend the night in Arlington Heights?
You can create so
that
then you put a casino up instead. No. Cool. You put a casino up instead. You do other things. You turn this into a money-making venture regardless.
Well, no, but you can't build on that land at that time unless you're paying that $30 million a year.
He ain't never been. He don't know.
So you can't just do something until the land is free and clear. And right now,
is the land not cleared at all?
No, it's not.
Hold your energy.
I haven't seen.
Hold up. Trips, hold your energy. He's not really familiar with Arlington Heights, and he don't know how that.
No, I haven't seen Arlington. I'm just saying, like,
it makes sense to you that you would just throw some hotels up and everything be cool.
I would do business. I would call up somebody and go, hey, let's do some business. Let's make some money with this spot.
We don't really go like that.
About tax money.
This is Illinois.
Generate some actual funds.
It don't work like that.
No.
I don't know.
Because first of all, they're not going to proceed with stadium accoutrements without having the stadium locked in. And now based on that, there was no leverage for the Bears when they were leasing out Soldier Field because there's not enough just square footage of land in the city available to make a whole NFL village. So Arlington Heights would be perfect. So now Arlington Heights was like, oh, they want to move out here. We're going to tax their ass. And so there was no.
I can tell you why this thing failed, and I'm going to tell you exactly where it went wrong.
It went wrong.
Kez was right with one thing he said tonight, and that is when they should have really pressed the gas. And that was a few years ago. It was a few years ago when Kevin Warren was first hired. They should have just went hard at Arlington Heights and stuck there. When the economy was doing well, we had another administration in there. They was ticking up the economy after COVID. The economy was looking good. People were making money. And now they couldn't have never really foreseen where we are right now, where, you know, it's getting really, really bad now. And you're talking about a bad economic situation where people are paying high prices for gas, groceries, and all that kind of shit. And what does a billionaire look like going to these people talking about, hey, I need you to tax your citizens a little bit more to give me a tax break? That's going to be fucked up. And that's exactly what it is. They waited too long. And now this climate of the economy is exactly the wrong time.
That's not on the Bears, though, no, Matt.
That kind of is.
But it is.
Not
hiring Kevin. I'm going to tell you how it is, though. Why you go purchase the land?
Huh?
If none of this is in, like, if none of it, so
that's Ted Phillips.
In like commercial real estate, stuff like this happens all the time, right? Like from a zoning perspective, oh, it's not zoned for commercial, it's zoned for residential. You can't put you can't put businesses up there. You got to put houses up there. It's very similar in that respect. Why would you buy the fucking land then, bro? You know what I mean? If you can't get the tax break that this is where I'm going with this. You know what I'm saying? This is where I'm going. Why would you buy the land in the first place if you can't get the tax break that you're looking for? You should have been just having this conversation.
If you saw Arlington, you would understand.
And then also at the time, the commissioner in Arlington Heights or Cook County, I can't remember which, he inflated the tax burden. You know, before it was legally in the window to do so, it was all illegal. So when I guess when George okayed Ted to buy it, you know, it was like, all right, $2 million a year in taxes, whatever. But then between that time and when Warren got really involved, that went from $2 million to $30 million.
Holy
so now it's like, well, we can't, you know, operate with this and under these parameters where they're just making up numbers and shit. So, you know, now it's politics. Now he being Kevin Warren is going back to Chicago. Are there other viable sites to try and create some kind of leverage to try and find some kind of deal? Because either it's stay on Soldier Field and keep paying that lease, or move to Arlington Heights on the land that they bought and, you know, pay whatever taxes that the state, county, and teachers union want. But I look at it as though, hey, Kevin Warren came in this situation. Now, all of a sudden, even though it's in Indiana, that's a hell of a deal. So as president of an organization with feelings aside or tradition of being in a state aside, the deal that is offering may screw the Indiana taxpayers, but that's not Kevin Warren's problem. Kevin Warren's issue is to get the maximum value for this stadium deal for the McCaskies and the best deal they can, you know, as NFL representatives. And if that's in Northwest Indiana or if that's in Arlington Heights, the NFL don't give a shit because they got teams all across the league, names on the jersey that they don't play in. You know, the Jets, the Giants, San Francisco, Dallas, all of these places play in different places. And when the commissioner Goodell came in and walked the Northwest Indiana property with Warren and McCaskey during one of the playoff games, it was like, oh yeah, they're serious about this shit, because the NFL is like, yo, it's been 5 years. We missing out on money. You know, can we get this in process? And so here we are.
This is why I wanted to just produce it, because Trips and Kez want to just keep going and going. And I understand it. That's why I wanted to be in the background. But let me read this, what Crimson said. He says they aren't. He said they weren't asking for any money for a stadium when this all started. They wanted tax certainty. I'm gonna underline that part: tax certainty and infrastructure. They plaid on spending $4 billion. Let's go back to tax certainty. Okay, so what they wanted was a flat tax. They wanted a fixed tax rate, and so whatever you're going to tax me, I want you to keep it there. And so I'm going to tell you the difference between somebody getting a fixed tax rate and somebody's taxes fluctuating, like a property owner like myself. Y'all don't know what the fucking tax bill is going to be based on the economy and based on what the budget is for this year. My shit looks different every year. They wanted a fixed tax rate. Whatever you're going to charge us tax-wise, we want it to be fixed, is what they're trying to say. And that's not realistic. That's not realistic for me as a normal property owner. Why should it be realistic for somebody like, no, man?
So,
well, from my understanding,
that's what Indiana is giving them, though.
Well, that's
where things get a little bit dicey. Indiana kind of turned around and said, you know what? We'll make sure that the tax situation is amicable for you. We're opening our doors for you to come here and set up shop. So the real question after they do that is, what's Chicago? Like, what is Illinois going to do? And apparently the answer to that right now is abso-fucking-lutely nothing.
Well, from the Los Angeles Rams, that Sophie Stadium, from my understanding, they have not a fixed tax, locked-in tax rate, but they know for example, it's 10%, but it's not 10% forever. Every year it goes up 1.2%, or it goes up a percent as time goes on.
That makes sense. And like, you're talking about probably one of the most heavily taxed regions in the United States of America. If they can make it work in California,
because it's one of the more populated states in the country. It's just
very true.
It's the way it needs to be.
But the thing that irritates me about everybody that's it's Warren's fault, it's the Bears' fault, it's this fault, it's that fault. For 5 years, kids, the state of Illinois has known that the Bears want to do this.
Yep.
They still have yet to pass some sort of a bill that addresses it. At 0 hour, they came up, we'll do this mega projects bill. Oh, that's not going to pass. Okay, well, we'll try and kind of specify it to the Bears. Oh, that didn't pass. And it's like, well, how long are the Bears supposed to wait?
It's funny because like that you mentioned that, because one of the reports I read, and it was just a post, like the folks are going, like, as far as Illinois politicians is concerned, they buck wilding right now, because like I'm getting it in Canada and stuff. But there's one lady, one woman who came out and she was like, oh, like this thing was just put forward at like the 11th hour, 3 a.m. today. Like, if we're gonna do something like this, we need to be working on this, for time. Like, we need some time to work on something like this. And I'm like, lady, it's it's June 2026, lady. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. They bought this land 5 years ago, and you're saying you're just hearing about it now, and you're an Illinois politician? What the hell is going on?
But that goes back to Nomad's point of listening to the lobbyists and knowing which politicians' degrees, or I'm sorry, lobby. Which ones have the influential votes and whatever committee. What districts need some kind of incentive, to vote for it. Incentive being, the Bears will have a camp for their kids in that district or some shit, or they'll pay for scholarships or something. But all of the politicians want something.
So I want to read these two from the chat here, man, if that's all right.
Hold on, before you even go with that, man. Look, for the Bears to stay in Illinois, and we're going to get into a whole thing about tradition and all that stuff that comes with it in a second after Cass does his thing. But there has to be concessions, and largely the Bears you got to commit to the state of Illinois. You got to commit to whatever it costs us to keep this team here like it should be. We should be willing to go to but if they're not there, they can get the fuck on. Because if it's going to cost people that don't really have that money more money just to keep the Bears here, that's what the governor is trying to tell you. It's like people can't fucking afford to give you breaks. That's what he's trying to say in a nutshell. But go ahead, kids.
No, and what you're saying is bang on, and I'm gonna try and sort of line up with you here. So I just want to catch some of this chat. So Scroll just started out with this, which is interesting. The Bears have nothing to do with Illinois' debt problem. You think you're in debt now, wait till they leave. My boy Scrolls also says the people in San Diego didn't want to help build a new stadium. Now they all regretting losing the Chargers and that revenue. Bears Junkie is saying this now. Hold on. Let me just run through these and then we get back to it. So in the Bears want more tax cuts in the state that's billions in debt and then turn around and say that they care about Illinois.
Wait a minute. We'll go back to that. Go back to that one.
So the Bears want more tax cuts. This is basically what you're just saying, right?
We have zero debt.
There's zero debt in the state of Illinois?
There's no deficit, bro.
Okay, well, look at that, Bears Junkie. Great point. No matter. So that's just the same thing again. There's another one I wanted to read in here.
We ain't doing politics, so just don't fucking pull them up.
Sorry, I'm not trying to put up anything political. Really what I'm trying to say is like, there's got to be a way where, like, here's where things are a little bit sideways. So again, because the McCaskey family and the Bears brass, board of directors, what have you, are football rich and not business rich like Jerry Jones has oil interests, etc. It's going to be a little bit rough for them to pay that $30 million in tax money up front initially and might need some level of subsidy. But something along the lines of what Trips was saying for SoFi is if you sort of ramp it up and give them a tax break initially and ramp it up as things sort of grow, they start to see revenue from, a Super Bowl or concerts or what have you, like all the additional, what I'm saying?
College playoffs.
The additional revenue that they could be making with this, again, hotels, casino, etc. Then you ramp back up and you charge them more, and in some capacity push that back to the state. I don't know how this all shakes out or what the conversation is, but that makes more sense to me, right? They can't just be grifting off the general public, which is the feeling, but maybe temporarily to give back to the general public. That's my 2 cents.
Well, but that's the question I get, for Nomad Kids and the chat. Going back to Red Baron's comment about the people of San Diego that didn't want to pay the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a non-billionaire, believe me, I understand. And I'm not simping for billionaires or saying that they should not pay their fair share. My point is the project that we're talking about, that kids started listing the events outside of football that will bring in all kinds of revenue. The concerts, the Final Four, the college playoffs, the Super Bowls, and these are hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue that the state will enjoy. In the beginning, do you give a discount to somebody that's going to bring in that kind of revenue for the next 20, 30 years? Because guess what? It's not a handout to billionaires. It's an investment in this property. And guess what? As a Illinois resident, I want Arlington Heights to succeed because all of the revenue that's generated stays in the state. All of the jobs that are generated are Illinois residents, whereas there are city state commissioners that represent the city, and they're like, hey,
good point, Trip.
Fuck Arlington Heights, because if they move to Northwest Indiana, that's still close to my district in the south side of Chicago. So we're still going to enjoy some of those benefits. So you have people within the state that are fighting against the state you know, whether it be city officials and or state officials. It's like, yes, you want the Bears to be committed to Illinois, but I would argue that as long as that Indiana deal has been on the table and that it hasn't been wholeheartedly, you know, embraced, because the Bears kept giving the state time and time and time, and now it's just, the Bears have made it known, hey, we want this deal before summer. We want to put shovels in the ground if we can in the summer of 2026. And Indiana was like, we good to go. You know, we got to pick the location here, but we good. Illinois is like, we didn't get to it. We'll get back to it in November. You know, that is not a commitment from the state of Illinois to the Bears at all. You got to come up with something.
Let me say this, man. Before we get into the traditions of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and what it means to be a Chicago Bear. State of Illinois and Chicago have everything to do with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to part that for a second and get to just the bottom line. All of that stuff that Triple R just said has merit. It should be talked about, but at the end of the day, you're talking about when I'm seeing people in grocery stores that I normally don't see going and doing shoplifting, choosing between what I should pay for. Should I pay for my gas? Should I pay for my mortgage? Should I pay for this bill? Choosing what they have to pay for and what I'm going to have to try to leverage and try to do something with. You got regular people that you would see in Walmart have everything they need to pay for anything that they want, are now shoplifting. Not only that, they're going to have to see that goddamn tax bill. Not only that, they're going to see that tax bill. When that tax bill increases, that you can't explain that away to somebody that sees that literally has to see that every time I open up this tax bill, it's fucking increasing. And now it's increasing because of this. No, man, you can't explain that to people that really struggle to get by week to week, month to month. Fuck entertainment. We're talking about people that need a break, tax-wise.
Look, so I'm interested now. So, like, they could levy a Bears tax, which again would hurt the people. But in the end, they could, when this thing is in place and it's actually generating funds, they could institute a Bear refund and actually give people back money. Like, this would be a little bit different than
Tell that to a woman that got to go fucking steal tampons.
Well, no, but they've already done that, kids.
Say what now?
Tell that to a woman that needs to go steal tampons this week.
Well, yeah, that's
like not to talk to her.
And pampers and all that good shit.
that's not a Bears problem, though. I mean, that's her being poor problem.
You increasing people's
So
taxes.
hold on. Here's
But what I'm talking about is a Bears tax is the aforementioned Soldier Field bonds and stuff. The city was going to pay their part by a 2%, hotel tax, a 5% restaurant tax, taxes like that would target the people coming into town, fees and stuff more so than the actual residents, because the residents aren't, staying in the downtown hotels like that or eating in the restaurants like that. So there was some kind of, not discrepancy, but difference in how the tax was collected, quote unquote, for Soldier Field.
It's a
And
property
from
tax,
the other
man.
deals like
Specifically,
Indiana's, there are
Sure.
ways that they are taxing
Sure.
everything in the entertainment area that's not going to reflect on
hold on.
like property
hold up,
tax
man.
bill.
Any of
Just
that
hold up,
go
bro.
back
It's
to
property
the
tax
people.
specifically, bro. It's property tax specific.
I
So
hear
if you a homeowner, is where you're gonna fucking feel this.
I'm just asking, does any of that act, like, I understand how it's coming out. Is any of it going back to the people with respect to the previous, with those bonds, etc.? Because I know just as a for instance, in Green Bay, the people pay the tax and they're part owners in theory, of the Packers. But
FG.
I don't think they get anything back for that ownership, and that's my understanding.
Right, there's no return on that investment.
There's no return on the investment
but
other than
supposedly the return on the Soldier Field investment, you know, after the bonds were paid off, the Bears paid their part, and those increased taxes were supposed to pay the city's part and the park district, but either those payments were never made, or the city made the minimum payments with now this, you know, $500 million outstanding balance. So there's no residual income to kick back into the community or to the taxpayers. But, you know, I tried to wonder, it's like, well, how the hell is Indiana able to offer this kind of deal, you know, that is going to put the burden on their citizens? You know, they already got one football team, and that's not paid off yet in Indianapolis with Lucas Oil. But I haven't seen the actual financials. But whatever the deal is that Indiana is offering, they have to have some sort of a schedule to where they show when they recoup that investment and when the state starts turning a profit. So whenever that is then it's like, where does that profit money go? Does it go back to the citizens? Does it go to programs? Where does that go?
So
they have a fucking
something a little bit different here. Like to be honest,
you know why I'm here.
Wait, what's that?
Where did he go? Why is he so mad?
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. But I mean, I'm suggesting something completely different. In that, if they're going to tax the people, there should be a refund. Y'all should get a piece of that tax back over time. It should be like potentially an investment of the people, which nobody necessarily wants to do. But under these pretenses, if you are investing in this Bears machine, just like investing in Amazon stock, you should get something back in time. And I think that should be cold, hard, refundable money as a tax return.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And like, Nomad's still here, but whatever the tax rate is, I don't know. Like, let's say the Bears, I guess the handout that everybody keeps saying is, let's say the Bears want to pay 15% in taxes, whereas the property owner pays 30% or whatever it is in taxes. So that's, you know, a 15% difference. But now, granted, the whole Bears project is going to bring in revenue and employ people. All right. The average homeowner ain't doing that. But to Keds' point, once the project is now paid for and profitable, instead of, let's say,
all the money going to the McCaskey,
I would suggest that instead of saying a rebate check or anything like that to residents, property owners, it's like, hey, instead of paying 30% in property tax, we're going to reduce it to 20. You know, bring down that actual property tax that Nomad is talking about. Because right now there is nobody talking about once these we haven't even gotten to the point where we can talk about the revenue from the mega projects. Illinois can't even get a mega projects deal together. But talking about Indiana, once they get to the point that they're profitable, instead of like divvying up the money there, just put it towards those tax rolls. And instead of the woman who can't afford tampons, you know, not having to worry about getting extra absorbent, paper towels, now her tax burden is less. So I don't know how they're going to divide that up.
Give her a job.
Hold on. Fuck this, man. This shit is way so far into the weeds. We're not really acknowledging some things. The reason why Indiana is so attractive to the Chicago Bears is because they have a supermajority in their state legislature, as opposed to Illinois, who is, you know, you got a nice balance of this, you got a nice balance of that, not getting into the political part of it. Indiana, quite honestly, they can really juice their citizens for whatever fuck they want to juice them for. And the citizens won't buck. This ain't that here in Illinois. This ain't the same goddamn thing. We ain't just gonna say, yes, man, whatever you say, we'll take it. That's not Illinois. Illinois is super diverse, super duper diverse, and it should be. And it should be a diverse conversation, and the conversation should go. And that's what it is in Illinois. I don't give a F what they do to their citizens in Illinois. We ain't doing that shit over here.
Well,
And if the Bears are too weak to maintain a legacy that the Chicago Bears, the fans have created for them, this is the state of Illinois who did that for them. If they can't be obviously aware enough to know exactly where everything you got came from, take your pussy ass to Indiana, where you can get everything you want over there. But take that fucking C off your helmet. That's how I fucking feel about it. Fuck them.
And I don't understand why still.
And I'm telling you why. If we all have to go through it here in Illinois, it's a diverse state. You have to go through it too. I don't give a fuck if you're a billionaire and you got a team that we all covered over here. If you can't deal with your fair share and what you need to take care of in your responsibility, like we all do when we see the property taxes, that people that can't afford it, like myself, I can't afford the new tax bill I'm about to get. But guess what? I got to figure out a way to fucking pay it off.
So it sounds like you're pushing off your poor issues on them.
No, I'm not. I'm just talking about diversity in equity in the whole state. And I'm talking
do you agree that they bring in money and you don't?
Listen, I'm talking about no matter what your income level is. Diversity means diversity. Whatever income level is, pay your percentage of what you need to pay to the state to keep this thing rolling.
All right, question though. You're not you specifically, but the average property owner isn't going to hire the amount of people or bring in the revenue that this project's going to bring in. So that doesn't count for anything.
That's beside the point, really. It is.
No, that is the point. How is that beside
the point?
How is that beside the point?
Because who's hauling that? Who's hauling that goddamn extra taxes? It's the people who own property in the state of Illinois.
And then who's going to benefit once that's there?
Who said that we're going to benefit from it?
No, he's saying that you're
tax breaks for us.
I know what you're saying, but what Trips is saying is that
he ain't a fucking homeowner, so he doesn't understand it.
That doesn't come on now. That doesn't take actual ownership or non-ownership.
If you see one of them bills, you will understand it.
No. That's so to make it so that you understand where he's coming from. Your view is actually at the homeowner level, where again you purchase a home for your family. It benefits nobody but your family, right? Like the benefit is in your family's proliferation within the home, and potentially the home's appreciation in value. That's the benefit. It doesn't help Jeff get a job. It doesn't help put more money into the state outside of the property taxes that you pay, which is the same property taxes that the guy next door pays, right? Difference being maybe his house is worth more or less. At this scale, we're talking about jobs and money generated. So that lady who's stealing tampons, lady who's stealing tampons could potentially get a job and not steal tampons anymore.
You got good energy, kid.
I'm just saying that it's just a different conversation.
I understand them. But as a matter of fact, when we first started talking about this on the show, that's one of the things that was really, really attractive to me is what it could produce.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to me, it's a separate issue than what we're talking about, reasons why the Bears moved to Indiana, and that is property taxes. And, property taxes, as opposed to, it's a different kind of tax when you're talking about, I forget, there's a whole nother name for that kind of tax. When you're talking about intellectual property that was to be surrounding the Bear Stadium, there's some kind of luxury tax involved there. You know what I mean? People making big money on that kind of stuff, casinos, hotels, and all that kind of thing.
Like licensing fees?
No, that's different too. I'm just talking. There's another tax bracket for that. I'm talking about people who deal with nothing but entertainment. There's another tax bracket there. I'm talking about the specific physical property that they will own, that they will be running business out of, has to be taxed to a certain level so that people like myself we're not getting leveraged. We're not getting that extra burden. And I understand that, hey, if you just hang in there for a little bit and pay your level of the taxes you need to, maybe someday that they'll give you a tax break. I don't believe that.
That's a good answer. I'm just giving you the Canadian answer, and it's the tried, true, and tested Canadian answer. In Canada, they raise their taxes all the time for absolutely no good reason. And what they do is they go, hey, we're gonna charge you an extra 7% at the store, just because you bought shit. You gonna buy shit, we're gonna charge you 7% for buying it. So you go to the store, you buy it, and you're mad, but in the end, they throw you back a couple of bucks. And when I say in the end, at the end of the year, every year, they throw you back a couple of bucks, and they go, okay, so we've used your tax dollars for X, Y, and Z. We're in surplus in this respect because we've taken 7 from you. We're going to give you 5 back, which is better than 0. I still bitch and moan at the store, but at least I'm getting something back. So this is just me sort of saying there's a way to do this, right? And I've experienced it. There's a way to do this where you give the break to the Bears. Once they ramp up, you take the breaks away. Now they're generating money and they can actually afford to pay that $30 million a year, and it's fine. And now you kick some back to the people and you help that lady you send some money to that lady, man. And you help her, you help prevent her from stealing tampons. And that's what I'm talking about. It's just a tax refund, and whether you can actually do that in the state of Illinois, whether Illinois is prepared for something like that, I don't know.
They're not, but because that's the thing, kids. Anytime there's a surplus, there isn't.
They put it in their pockets, that's what I'm saying.
And that's on every level. The city, the county, the state.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you.
That's what happened to the Soldier Field money. It was not only the cronyism or just straight up theft, but just misspent or lavish expenses, or projects that were doomed from the start that cost a lot of money, just wasted, if you want to use that word. So stolen, cronyism, wasted, that's millions of dollars right there, and I'm just talking about the city. Then you add in the state, then you add in the county. So you got all these different levels of government that all want their lobbying. They want their respect. They want their due. I think there are 15 to 30 commissioners in Chicago or commissioners in the state. So theoretically, I think a lot of people are upset with Kevin Warren and the Bears because he didn't play the game of Illinois politics, meaning he didn't pay off the people. He didn't, know how to do this, how to do that. And it's like, well, understanding that all of the people that want the payola, they're full of shit. And if he doesn't want to deal with them, it's like, no, I'm not paying you. I'm not paying these commissioners off. What's going on in this state? Hey, Indiana, what's really good over there? So that sounds like what Kevin Warren did, and that's why everybody's pissed off at him, because he refused to play their game and pay them off.
I got a different way of thinking about it. And Trips, bear with me here just really quickly.
Good.
I would be remiss if I did not mention, the history of this country and what this country is founded on. And the legacy of billionaires and people with a lot of money being able to slide through and not pay their fair share. It's a legacy here in this country. They have not been held accountable for anything. Smurder, taxes, anything. And all of a sudden the tide is changing. And I see that tide changing, and I see the gas heading that direction. I'm not getting off of it. F McCaskey family for not wanting to, burden your fair share that the regular people like myself and the Triple R for that matter, paying their taxes like they're supposed to, like the government requires you to every year or else. Until you become, and I apologize, Trips, if it came off the wrong way. for saying you're not a property. I probably shouldn't have said that. But in fairness, man, what I'm trying to get at is when you see that bill, and I'm a person that owns a small plot of land, very small plot of land, and I see my tax share being levied towards me, and I'm just like, hold up. And you mean to tell me these mugs is paying what? That's gonna just automatically evoke some kind of emotion, which is why I wanted to kind of stay in the background with the show, because
No, I mean, it's good to let that emotion out, because that emotion that you are feeling, is the same that I'm sure hundreds of thousands of other property owners are feeling the same way, because there's been a lot of sentiment of, well, fuck the Bears, or they're billionaires, they're rich, or they should have some kind of solidarity or tradition with Illinois. But at the end of the day, Kevin Warren wasn't brought in here or hired to worry about the quote unquote feelings of people. He was brought in to, get this stadium built, preferably in Arlington Heights. It didn't work out. So now, Indiana. But the difference that I'm seeing is, while you are rightly more concerned about your pocketbooks and your day-to-day expenses and tax bills, just from the perspective of Kevin Warren and the Bears, the Indiana deal that's on the table now versus the one that doesn't exist in Illinois is, over the course of the time of the deal, is like a $1.5 to $2 billion difference in what the McCaskey and that whole project will make versus Illinois. So, I mean, if you are looking at it, it's like, I can, over the course of time, make $2 billion more than I can over there. Mm-hmm. It's like,
just hell,
come on, ain't no love in the game.
To hell with history, hell with
legacy. It's a business.
Hell with tradition. Just leave the burden to us. And guess what? The backbone of this whole organization, the fans, the people that support the state, everything that the Chicago Bears have enjoyed came off the flesh, blood, bone marrow of us. And not only literally being the people that buy their shit. Now, I'm fully adorned from top to bottom, standing here in Chicago Bears gear as we speak. You're talking about people that pay for the prices of parking just before they even get to the stadium. You know what I mean? That get into the stadium and pay exorbitant amounts for tickets, food, everything came off the backs of hardworking people from Illinois and surrounding areas. All of a sudden, because you're not getting what you want in a specific deal. And, I know a couple of $1 billion sounds like, oh, if they ain't getting this kind of break, you expect them to pay this? No, mother. It feels like $1 billion when you get in your fucking tax payment you have to go make. It feels like that to the regular Joe Schmo. So, it feels like that. We're talking about money. They'll never have to worry about whether or not their bills get paid or whether or not their wife have to go and steal maxi pads and tampons and shit like that. They'll never feel like that, no matter what they do. Even if they stayed in Illinois and paid the maximum amount, they will never know that feeling.
Are they supposed
I'm speaking for Joe Schmo. Joe that has to get up tomorrow morning at 4:30, 5 o'clock to get ready for work and get on out that door. I'm speaking for them that sees that when they got a mortgage and they see that tax increase on their property tax. I'm speaking for them, man.
Man, when was the last time Joe Schmo was able to afford PSLs, personal seat licenses?
Man,
that's an investment.
There's other things to really like. The way that you broke that down was very eloquent, and I hope Joe Schmo appreciates it. There's a flip side to all this, because at some point, Papa Bear was a Joe Schmo, and he built something himself as well
out of nothing, kids.
Right. So now that now that we're here, and the thing that he's built includes the better part of the NFL itself, right? The thing that he's built has grown and blossomed nobody gives a fuck anymore. You know what I mean? Like as far as the state and the city, nobody gives a damn about the thing that he built, and somehow the people who give a damn live in Indiana. Like I'm a little confused with how we got here, and I'm going to ask a weird question now. And the question is, all right, so screw them. They go to Indiana. What happens in Illinois now? Like, what happens in Chicago? So,
what happens about what?
Let me start. So, whatever dollars and cents they were paying to the Friends of the Park for, we'll call quasi rent, gone. Whatever revenue that they were bringing into the state, gone. What happens to, like, I can only imagine that taxes, for the most part, in some capacity, would have to raise in order to subsidize the loss in revenue in some capacity that just flew over to the other side of the state, to the other state. No?
Hold on,
Hold
kid.
that thought real quick.
Hold on. Give me a second. I just walked away from the computer for a second. Just let him talk. Give me a second. Anybody want to read that? Go ahead.
I got
Let's
it.
see. I get,
Okay.
You want to go ahead, Catch?
Okay, Dante Purify, 1999. Thank you, Dante, man. Big ups to you. Illinois is too expensive, he says.
True.
The Bears are undercapitalized. Simple solution will be Bears, one, selling a piece of the team to private equity, or two, sell the whole team to a rich ownership group, or three, Indiana deal.
He's fucking right. I mean, he's speaking directly to when you don't have the liquid fluidity to do what the Bears want to do, and kind of, supersede, when you got enough money to kind of supersede what the state is asking from you. If you don't have that money, to me, the righteous thing to do is what Dante is kind of saying. Then you find somebody and you sell that team to somebody that can keep it in the state and they can handle that tax fare.
Cornell Bryant, get the goat in the algorithm. Sorry, continue.
To what Dante is saying, just to legitimize what he's saying, is I fuss with people, in the past about talking about the Bears need to sell the franchise, and under the circumstances, I felt right with that argument, but now under these circumstances, I do feel like, okay, you don't mess with this tradition. If you don't have what you need to take care of this and facilitate this, your answer shouldn't be, okay, let's pick up and move over here so we can generate us some more money. No, it should be, okay, let's be stewards of this thing. Let's be stewards of this thing. Let's go on and get what we can get out of this thing and get on. That's what it should be. But, that's not what the way they're thinking. They're just trying to keep this cash baby in their family.
Well,
in their family.
What are you saying, though, man?
I'm telling you this.
You saying they should leave money on the table?
I'm going to tell you this. If I'm not a Bears podcaster, if they finish this shit off, don't be fucking surprised. I don't like this shit.
Smitty Q,
I'm not
man.
fucking
Smitty Q.
I don't know what, if any, outside interest that, I know George likes to, umpire little league games or whatever the fuck, but I don't know what other interests the other McCaskies have. But that right now, if all they do is sit around and play video games all day and live off their Bears money, right now they're like, we're making X amount, but shit, if we make to Indiana, oh shit, we're gonna make a lot of money. And then also, it's not just the Bears' decision. The Bears have a boss, and that's the NFL. Those other 31 teams, realize that it's a business, and that if you need to move someplace to get your money, Rams, Raiders, you do that. So if you're still the Chicago Bears, you're going to a town that, Papa Bear Hallis actually played in 1919. So there is tradition. I mean, you're still in Hallis Hall, in Lake Forest at your headquarters. So there's still an Illinois-based, business, but the actual business where the money is right now is in Indiana. And it's like, feelings aside, because when the first inklings of this whole thing came about with the Arlington Heights purchase, I was like, wait, but the Bears play right there at Soldier Field. What the hell are you talking about? But then it's like, yeah, this place is a shithole. Because I've worked in Soldier Field, so I see it. Go ahead, hit that up, Nomad.
Man,
shout out to Crimson.
Big ups to Crimson.
He just renewed. Go ahead, kid.
I was just saying, big ups to Lord Crimson. He says Nomad gonna be podcasting on UFL.
Nomad ain't gonna be doing. Nomad ain't gonna be doing none of this shit if they don't get this right.
That's a funny one. Thank you for re-ing up your membership, Crimson. That's
sure.
appreciated.
Love you. Appreciate you, Crimson, and thank you so much, Dante. You're
so
right, man.
I just got to comment on where Nomad was a while. Like I hear what you're saying. Should ain't nobody trying to really, like, no businessman is trying to do that. This is a family that, for the most part, has lived off of, the coattails of Papa Bear. Will continue to do so for time. For the foreseeable future. Them just saying, oh, you know what, and throwing in their towel and moving off this is crazy. And you know why it's super duper, like, extra crazy, is because, again, they're holding this land in Arlington. So they're on the take for $30 million. So you cut out, they're still somehow on the take for $30 million. I don't know how you get around that part. You got to do something with it. And if nobody's willing to build it up or help you build that up or skirt around some of that money, it's a situation.
Well, no, from my understanding, kids, that 30 mil of the excessive tax burden was rectified in court, and I think I'm correct when I say they got it back down, or they're in court to get it back down. But even if that tax burden,
what do you know?
Like to like 2 million or 5 million or something.
Cool. All right.
Like it should be for empty land.
Okay.
But they still can't proceed because of the state of Illinois. And this something that we haven't talked about.
You can't leverage.
We've mentioned the stadium, we mentioned the hotels and the restaurants and all that part, yes, which is part of, what the Bears are building for their entertainment. But the state of Illinois or Indiana will have to help with the infrastructure, because that's not a Bears or a corporation's, purview, to make sure the expressway has off ramps and interchanges, that there's appropriate plumbing and sewage and electrical, that's the infrastructure surrounding, Arlington Heights, of which Illinois still hasn't come up with a coherent plan, aside from the whole stadium authority issue. So it's that the infrastructure stuff is nothing to do with the Bears. Well, what I'm saying? They have their hookups, but once it gets off that property, that's the state's problem. And they still haven't come up with anything to address that.
Well, let me change this conversation a little bit to where I think should have been the beginning of the conversation. And that is, apart from politics, apart from billionaires, and apart from money. This is Jay Grizzlies, and I love this question. Appreciate you for this one, bro. He said, do y'all think if the Bears won the Super Bowl last year, we'd be here today? Let me speak to that specifically. Super Bowl. That's the part that's kind of aside. It's right next to me with the, I vehemently disagree with what's going on right now for all the reasons I said tonight. But a side part of that, and a very strong side part of that, is what a bad time to fucking say some shit like this. What a horrible time. You're talking about, it's been 20 years since the Bears, or just the Bears, have been this energetic. The franchise has been this energetic. It's been nothing but negativity. It's nothing but negativity. It's been a good 20 years since the Bears fan base has had this much energy to it. You're talking about a season where we had a breakthrough. In a season we're going into next year where we're probably looking at a Super Bowl run. I ain't saying probably, we are looking at a Super Bowl run. And you part the conversation with this bullshit. That's part of where my ire is coming from, man. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I apologize if I sound really, really negative tonight, but that's just really how I feel about it all. It really sucks to have this much, haven't spent this much time and effort into putting into the Bears fan base and giving you all this content and making sure that we did that, the effort, the time it spends to create the content, all that stuff, building this franchise up, as a side piece. As podcasters, we're just side pieces. We're doing our part in that way. And to the timing of this is so effed around, I can't even describe it. But here we are. Here we are. If we'd have got to the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl, no, I don't think we're in this conversation at all. I think they do what they have to do because the cachet would already be there. And so, but, that's that, man. But we got to get ready to round this conversation off, man.
Yeah, Soldier Field isn't viable going forward. It's just too small, and they can't do the whole entertainment district thing. If they had won the Super Bowl, I think the Illinois politicians would have had more a fire under their ass to get something done, because of all the goodwill and feelings. And it's like, yeah, now we want to build in Arlington Heights. And it's like, yeah, and they're going, oh shit, yay. And it's like, damn it, I was supposed to get paid from that. But it's been years. Lori Lightfoot, the little stud mare, was like, hey, don't worry about a new stadium or moving, beat Green Bay. They beaten Green Bay, of course.
What was the other one she said?
What was the other one, Kids?
The other one was win meaningful games in November and then come talk to me. I ain't from Illinois, y'all. I'm just saying, but I remember what said.
So they doing all that.
But they did, and this is where I'm going.
Politics here.
They did all that stuff, right? They did that stuff this past season. They came very damn close to breaking that 4,000. Big ups, Caleb Williams, right? You came damn close, and I bet you, I'm gonna knock on some wood, but I could smell that 4,000, man. It's coming. I don't know about a Super Bowl this year, but I can smell that one. Maybe a Super Bowl. Real talk, though. I think we saw a lot this past season. I think the people of Chicago were walking around with their heads held high. I think they were happy after on Monday morning. Many a Monday morning than normal, than usual over the course of the last 20 odd years. I think everybody was super happy on Monday morning, right? Sometimes on Tuesday, maybe even Friday. End of the day, I think they proved a lot last season, and I think that should have been taken into consideration. The fact that this is now falling off the rails again, the fact that it's been 5 years running, this didn't happen yesterday. And this is the problem that I have with the thing. This wasn't like, oh, hey, we just bought something yesterday and we want money. No, they've been talking about this for 5 years. And yeah, Lori was probably right in saying, y'all stink. What are we doing for you guys? Y'all, you know what I mean? And I hate to say it, but they don't stink. They crushed it last season, and they're only going to get better. So, perfect time to actually make way for this better version of the Chicago Bears that we hope and pray for over the course of the next couple of years. But again, fell right the fuck off the rails.
This is why, part of the reason why I didn't want to go here in this conversation, because I don't like politics on this show at all. At freaking all, and there's a reason for it. It's just very divisive, man. And I can taste it here. It's very, very divisive, and I don't like it. It's already enough division going on in the world. We're talking about a microorganism.
But there's no division here, no, man.
Let me finish what I gotta say, man.
I ain't
There's
talking
no
about politics.
division.
There's micro divisions already going on all across the country, just fissures all over the place, and politics being one of the things that's creating that, a big part of it. And I don't like that shit here. I don't like the shit here. It's just not necessary. But in this conversation that we got to have about the Bears and moving the franchise, there's part of that life that has to be a part of this conversation. I'm just being honest about it. But before we get out of here, just to close this thing out, man, kids, any last thoughts about this, man? I won't interrupt you.
I don't. It doesn't matter much to me. It really doesn't matter too much to me. I had to do it.
You were just too damn old for me.
I had to do it. And in any event, look, I will somehow find my way to Soldier Field before this whole thing switches over. That's important to me. I gotta see what's going on. Great track, huh? Hammond, Illinois. I would much prefer it be in the state that it was in. There's a reason. The people of Illinois, really Chicago, I've always been drawn to in some capacity throughout my entire life. And that is part and parcel as to why I'm a Bears fan. Has a lot more to do with 85. But as I go through my childhood, it's funny, man. I was watching reruns of all things Perfect Strangers, and I was like, man, everything, you know what I'm saying? Everything in my, by the way, that show's super racist if you really break it down.
It is.
In any event, everything in my childhood, in one way, shape, or form, kind of finds its way back to Chicago. And that's just the truth of it all. So would I prefer them figuring out some sort of way for this to stay not only in Illinois, better Chicago? That's my 2 cents on it. It really doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I don't know how we all move forward with this thing after this. I know there's folks out there saying, you know what, take the C off, like my homie down here. Other folks are saying you can't call it the Chicago Bears anymore. I don't know how this is going to shake out. But again, I would be remiss to say that if all this bullshit winds up affecting the trajectory of this team, all is lost. Trip.
There was some announcement that the Kevin Warren of the Bears made during the Packers playoff game that fans were mad about, because it's like, well, we should be able to enjoy this game. Why are we announcing this bullshit? And then now, on the tails of Caleb Williams celebrating his Madden cover, we get, this Indiana news. And it's like, well, why the hell can't we enjoy anything for the Madden cover until this? It's like, well, shit. There's things going on that got nothing to do with other things or on their time schedule, or even know that they're happening. But from my understanding of that quote unquote vague letter that, a lot of the Chicago politicians and writers are saying that is that they are choosing between sites in Hammond. The governor of Indiana, the mayor of Hammond have come out publicly and it's like, welcome Bears. And Illinois is like, nah, yeah, I'm not going to believe it till their shovels in the ground. Nah, this is just another bluff by the Bears. But Kevin Warren, love him or hate him, he has created this offer from Indiana now as leverage, if you will, if this spurs the Illinois government to get off their ass and have some kind of session to address it. If not, and they move to Indiana, he's created a deal that didn't exist when he got here that is going to make the franchise billions of dollars. So either way, Kevin Warren did his fucking job. So don't be mad at him. If you want to catch feelings because, they're moving to a different state or whatever, that's nothing to do with Kevin Warren. If you want to be mad at the Illinois politicians, and it's not Democratic or Republican politics, because it's on both of them. They can't come together and figure out any kind of a bipartisan deal. Republican, Democrat alike, all of them have positions throughout the state government. They still can't work together. So that's not a Bears issue either. So there's blame they say to go around, but I'm still trying to figure out, well, what blame that a stadium's not built yet? Well, it's like, well, yeah, because we see that the Bears are trying to operate and they dealing with all these roadblocks and obstacles. Indiana's there. So whatever the case may be, we should know, I think by the end of June, because there was like an official deadline set. So yeah, and and it would be nice to have a world-class stadium and little village and all that little stuff. Is like, I'm not really into crowds, so I'm not going anyway. I don't give a shit. But I'll watch it on TV, maybe go once just to experience it. But new digs, y'all. New stuff. Yeah, Soldier Field, historic, yeah, whatever. No, it's a shithole. So wherever we're going, I'm still going to be a Bears fan. That rule only changes if they move, more than like 100 miles away or some shit. Like if I lived in St. Louis and the Rams moved to California, yeah, I'm rooting for a new team. They're moving to Indiana. It's right there. I mean, Frank's sausages, Big Frank sausages, perfect Italian meats and deli over there in Cal City. Beautiful food. I mean, it's right there. So it's not like a big experience. So whatever the case may be, people just breathe, and understand that not everything's gonna work out the way we want or they want or whoever wants. But we still have Ben Johnson. Thank you, Kevin Warren. We still have a head coach / offensive guru who wants to blow teams out on the offensive side as the defense comes along and we get the piece for Dennis Allen. So on the gridiron, we're looking upwards because whatever the stadium issue, they're not going to be built, until 2030 or some shit anyway. So this season, Soldier Field. Next season, Soldier Field. So no need to get nobody's panties in a bunch. We're still gonna be bringing it, and no matter what Nomad says, we're gonna be here Wednesday night with some extra sauce, with all the various topics of conversation, and hopefully maybe some closure on this situation. I don't know.
I don't be filibustering what the fuck I got to say because I'm gonna say mine, and I didn't interrupt either one of y'all. So let me finish this. All I can tell you is this, man. The traditions that we're steeped in here in Illinois and what we know as the Chicago Bears, it has all kinds of layers to it. Just like the layers of whatever the politics are in whatever state. There's layers to it. And it's just not simply this, it's not simply that. But simply, some of this can be broken down in a way that every citizen of the state of Illinois who has a certain income level can feel. It is real on a property tax level when you get that bill. We'll leave that to the side for a second and let's close with this thought that I have about the changing of times. Again, I told you guys, and I say it again, this country is founded for basically rich white men to be able to do what they want to do without really any recourse. It's designed that way specifically for rich white men with a whole lot of money to do how they want. And that tide is changing. I'm not in this for the entertainment value at this point. I'm here for y'all. I'm here for these guys on the show. I'm here for everybody that tunes into the Nomad Network, Sports Chicago Style, and also Kids of Canuck. I'm here for all of y'all. I'm here for it. What I'm saying is I can put aside my entertainment value and what I get, gleefully from the entertainment value that the Chicago Bears brings to me. And I can take that and put it to the side and talk about what it feels like what it feels like outside of the entertainment value that the Chicago Bears brings. And it's a particular dollar amount that's going to get charged to us as taxpayers. You know, you can get you might meet any variety of Chicago Bears fans at any income level. It might be somebody that's making $16,000 or less a year, somebody making $16 million a year. Doesn't matter. You're gonna meet them at all different income varieties. How that affects them is anybody's guess to the next person you meet. What I'm saying, I'm speaking for the people that's been taxed to death in the state of Illinois, property tax wise, or any other tax wise. We have paid our fair share. We have paid it out the wazoo. And now that it's time for a billionaire that owns a team that we fucking adore, it's time to separate that from entertainment. And what the Bears are is entertainment. It's entertainment, and it's that. I am not so willing to be entertained as opposed to how much I got to pay for you to entertain me. No, fuck that. Pay your fair share, get the fuck out of Illinois. That's how I feel about it. And if that comes off salty to y'all listening to the podcast right now, that's why I didn't want really a whole lot to do with it, but that's exactly how I feel. We're past that stage of powdering and buttering up billionaires and softening their fall. No, for what? People in the country are so used to being taxed to the extreme, they don't realize they're being taxed to the extreme. You have to say stop at some point. And I'm doing that right now on this podcast. Stop. Or you can take your filthy rich ass to Indiana and get all the tax breaks you want, but keep that fucking C off your helmet. That's all I got to say. And we're going to end this with these famous words.
Wait, hold on, no, Matt.
Oh, no.
Wait, no, there's Wednesday night. I'm trying to tell you about something about Wednesday night. There will be a product review. So look forward to that. It's a tease. You see that, kids?
About that, I don't know what that's all about.
You know, this is
hey, Mom's
Caleb
approved.
Williams at JJ.
We gotta talk about that, man. Trips. I don't know what this product is.
It's Caleb's product.
It's Caleb's product. Caleb and JJ Watts.
I can't
JJ Watt.
I can't close without all this, man. Golly. Can I finish my clothes?
Well, yeah, you were leaving now.
Lee. How about this? Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.